What is it about some gardens that just stops you in your tracks? You're walking past a house, you glance over the fence, and something makes you slow down. Something makes you want to open that gate and walk in. The plants are beautiful, sure, but it's not just the plants. It's the way everything sits together. The way the space feels finished, intentional, like every single detail was placed there on purpose. That feeling has a name. It's called decoration. And it is the single most overlooked element in home gardening. Most gardeners spend all their time, all their energy, and all their money on plants. And then they wonder why their garden still doesn't look the way they imagined. It's because plants alone don't make a garden feel designed. Decoration does. Today I'm giving you 15, and then some, of the most stunning garden decoration ideas I have ever come across, tested and used in real outdoor spaces. From backyards to patios, from lawns to the tiniest balcony corners. Ideas that cost almost nothing. Ideas that take a single afternoon. Ideas that will make people stop, slow down, and want to walk through your gate. Stay right to the end because the final idea on this list is the one that ties every single thing together, and it's the one most gardeners never think to do. Let's go. I want to be honest with you about something before we start. When I first began decorating my outdoor space, I made the classic mistake. I bought things, a garden ornament here, a wind chime there, a set of stepping stones, a bird bath I saw on sale. And my garden looked busier, yes, but it didn't look better. It looked cluttered. It looked like a garden center had exploded in my backyard. What I learned, slowly through a lot of mistakes, is that garden decoration is not about adding things. It's about adding the right things in the right places with intention. One beautiful object placed perfectly does more for a garden than 10 random ones scattered around. Everything I'm sharing today follows that principle. Each idea is intentional. Each one serves a purpose, visual, practical, or both. And each one can be done affordably this weekend with tools you already have. Before we get into idea number 1, drop a comment and tell me what outdoor space you're working with. Backyard? Front lawn? Small patio? Balcony? Tell me what you've got because I want these ideas to land for your specific situation. I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone. Idea 1, the stone pathway. Idea number 1. And we're starting here because nothing transforms an outdoor space more fundamentally than a pathway. A pathway does something that no plant, no ornament, no lighting can do on its own. It tells people where to go. It creates a journey through your garden. It says, this space was designed to be walked through, not just looked at from the edge. And you do not need expensive paving slabs to make it beautiful. Flat stepping stones, natural flagstone, reclaimed slate, or even large river pebbles laid at a comfortable walking pace apart, across your lawn or through your garden beds, create a pathway that looks both organic and completely intentional. Here is the design secret that separates a beautiful pathway from a basic one. Make it curve. A straight pathway from A to B is functional. A gently curving pathway that bends slightly as it winds through your garden creates mystery. It makes the garden feel larger than it is because you can't see the whole path at once. You have to follow it. And that act of following a path through a garden is one of the most instinctively satisfying things a person can experience outdoors. Plant low, soft ground cover between and around your stones. Creeping thyme, mind your own business, or baby's tears. These will slowly fill the gaps, soften the edges, and make your pathway look like it has been there for years rather than weeks. Idea 2. Large decorative pots. As landmarks. Idea number 2. And this is a principle more than a single idea. Large decorative pots used as landmarks. In great garden design, there are certain points in the space. The entrance, the end of a pathway, the corner of a lawn, the base of steps, that need visual anchoring, something that marks the spot, something that says, this is significant. Pause here. A large, beautiful decorative pot does exactly this. Not a pot filled to overflowing with a dozen different plants. A pot that is chosen for its own beauty, its shape, its glaze, its texture, and planted with a single strong architectural plant. A clipped box ball. A standard olive tree, a dramatic agave, one plant, one pot, maximum impact. Place these landmark pots in pairs flanking your garden entrance, flanking a gate, flanking the bottom of garden steps, flanking the start of your pathway. Pairs of identical pots create formality and elegance, and they make even the most modest garden entrance feel like somewhere important. The pot itself is the decoration. The plant inside it is the punctuation. Idea 3. The garden mirror. Idea number 3, and this one is my single favorite garden decoration trick of all time. The garden mirror. An outdoor mirror specifically designed to be weatherproof with a sealed backing that won't rust, mounted on a fence, a wall, or between two shrubs, does something almost magical to a small garden. It makes it look twice the size. The mirror reflects the garden back at you. Suddenly, there appears to be another garden beyond the fence, another pathway continuing into the distance, another layer of depth behind the planting. Visitors will genuinely stop and look twice, trying to work out where the garden continues. For the best effect, position your mirror so it reflects your most beautiful planting, a climbing rose, a lush border, your statement container. The reflection becomes the decoration. Frame it with climbing plants on either side, jasmine, ivy, clematis, so the mirror appears to be a window into another garden rather than an obviously hung object on a wall. The framing is what sells the illusion. Outdoor mirrors cost between $20 and $60 at most garden centers or home stores. The visual effect is worth 10 times that. This is one of the most talked about decorations in any garden where I have ever used it. Idea 4. Raised garden beds as decoration. Idea number 4. And this one changes how you think about raised beds entirely. Most people build raised beds purely for growing vegetables, herbs, cut flowers, and that is wonderful, but a raised bed can also be one of the most beautiful structural decorations in your entire garden. The key is the material and the finish. Raised beds built from dark stained sleeper wood, from natural stone, from corten steel that weathers to a deep rust orange, these are not just growing containers. They are furniture. They are architecture. They give your garden levels, structure, and geometry that flat ground simply cannot provide. Position 2 or 3 raised beds of different heights in a geometric arrangement in your backyard. Fill one with vegetables. Fill one with cut flowers. Fill one with a low ornamental grass. The variation in what grows in each one creates seasonal interest that changes month by month through the year. The beds themselves frame the space. They create sections within your garden. They give it rooms, the way interior walls give a house rooms, and rooms make a space feel larger, not smaller. Idea 5. Fairy lights through trees and shrubs. Idea number 5. And this is the decoration that turns your garden into a destination after dark. Fairy lights woven through trees, shrubs, and climbing plants, not draped over in a single string, not hung in a straight line, woven, pushed deep into the canopy of a shrub, wound around individual branches of a tree, threaded through the stems of a climbing rose. When you weave lights deep into plants rather than just laying them on the surface, something remarkable happens. At night, the light appears to come from inside the plant itself. The branches and leaves glow from within. The effect is unlike anything else in garden decoration. It looks like something from a fairy tale, and it happens to be one of the easiest things you can do. Use warm white LEDs. Not cool white, not colored. Warm white reads as natural, as candlelight, as something organic. Cool white reads as clinical. The warmth is what makes the magic. Solar-powered fairy light strings mean no extension cables, no electricity cost, no wiring worries. Push the solar panel somewhere it gets good daylight during the day, and by evening you have a garden that glows. We are 5 ideas in, and we haven't touched the lawn yet. We haven't talked about water features, garden art, or the single most transformative structural addition you can make to any backyard, and that one is coming up in idea 9. But first, idea 6. And this is the one that most people walk straight past in a garden center without realizing what they're looking at. Idea 6. The birdbath as focal point. Idea number 6. The birdbath, but not the way you're thinking. Most birdbaths are placed as an afterthought, pushed into a corner of the lawn surrounded by nothing, looking like a forgotten object rather than a chosen one. And in that context, even a beautiful birdbath looks cheap. The secret is placement and framing. A birdbath placed at the end of a pathway, so that as you walk along the path, the birdbath reveals itself gradually at the end of it, becomes a destination, a focal point that the whole garden orients around. Frame it with planting on all sides, low lavender in front, taller salvia or agapanthus behind, something with movement, an ornamental grass to one side. Now your birdbath is not a random object in a lawn. It is the center of a composed scene. It is the full stop at the end of a sentence. Everything else in the garden leads the eye toward it. And practically, fresh water for birds brings life into your garden. Song, movement, activity that no ornament or plant ever could. A garden with birds is a garden that feels alive. Quick question for the comments. Do you currently have a birdbath in your garden? And if so, where is it positioned? I want to know because the placement advice I just gave is the single most common thing I end up telling people to change when I help them with their outdoor spaces. Idea 7. Garden lanterns along a pathway. Idea number 7. And this pairs perfectly with the pathway we built in Idea 1. Garden lanterns along a pathway. Low-level pathway lights, lantern style, in matte black or aged bronze, placed on alternating sides of your garden path every 4 to 5 feet, create something that daytime garden decoration simply cannot achieve. They make your garden navigable and beautiful at night. They extend the hours during which your garden is usable, enjoyable, and alive. The alternating placement, left side, right side, draws the eye forward along the path and creates a natural rhythm that makes the garden feel longer and more generous than it actually is. Solar-powered lantern path lights require no wiring and cost between $5 and $15 each. 8 to 10 of them along a pathway is all you need. And here is something worth saying about garden lighting in general. It is the decoration that most consistently surprises people. A garden can look ordinary in daylight and completely extraordinary at night simply because of where a few lights are placed. Never underestimate the power of how your garden looks after the sun goes down. Idea 8. Decorative garden edging. Idea number 8. Simple, affordable, completely transformative. Decorative garden edging. The line between your lawn and your garden beds is one of the most important lines in your entire outdoor space. When that line is clean, sharp, and defined, your garden looks professional. When it is ragged, overgrown, and unclear, your garden looks neglected, regardless of how beautiful the plants themselves are. Decorative edging in natural stone, in dark metal, in reclaimed brick laid at an angle in a sawtooth pattern makes that line permanent, beautiful, and maintenance-friendly. Dark steel lawn edging is currently one of the most popular choices in garden design, and for good reason. The thin dark line it creates between lawn and border is crisp, modern, and almost invisible from a distance. The effect is that your garden beds simply appear perfectly contained, as though by some natural boundary. Reclaimed brick edging is warmer, more cottage style, and gives a garden that feeling of age and permanence that new gardens so often lack. Whichever you choose, make the decision intentional. Make it consistent throughout the garden, and make the line sharp. A well-edged garden bed communicates care, and care is the most beautiful thing you can show in any outdoor space. Idea 9. The garden arch. Idea number 9. And this is the structural addition I told you about before the mid-hook. The garden arch. An arch does something in a garden that nothing else can replicate. It creates a threshold. It says, you are moving from one space to another. Something different is on the other side. Even in a small garden, even one with nothing significantly different on either side of the arch. The act of walking beneath an arch changes how you experience the space. It gives it chapters. It makes it feel bigger, more considered, more like somewhere worth exploring. A simple iron or steel arch costs between $30 and $70. A wooden arch made from treated timber can be built for less than $20. Place it along your pathway, position it as the entrance to your garden from the house, or use it to divide your backyard into a lawn section and a planting section. Then plant it. Climbing roses over an arch is one of the most romantically beautiful things in gardening. Rosa, compassion, peachy pink, heavily fragrant, flowers all summer. Rosa New Dawn, pale blush white, vigorous, covers an arch in a single season. Clematis montana on an arch is another extraordinary sight. A mass of small white or pink flowers in late spring that completely covers the structure and fills the air with a vanilla fragrance. Give your arch one season with a vigorous climber. By summer 2, it will be the most photographed thing in your garden. People will stand beneath it without knowing why. Arches make people feel things. We are more than halfway through, and I want to tell you that the next 6 ideas are where it gets really interesting, because we're moving away from structure and into the details. The decorative objects, the textures, the personal touches that make a garden feel like it belongs to someone specific rather than just anyone. Idea 10 is where personality enters the garden. Don't go anywhere. Idea 10, garden sculpture and art. Idea number 10, garden sculpture and art. This is the decoration that divides people most, and it is the one that, when done right, is most remembered. A piece of garden art does not need to be expensive. It does not need to be a marble statue or a bronze casting. It needs to be something that means something. Something that when a visitor sees it, they see you in it. A rusted steel silhouette of a bird in flight, mounted on a slender rod and appearing to hover above your border. A smooth river stone with a single word carved into it, grow, rest, breathe, placed at the base of your most beautiful plant. A piece of driftwood with an interesting shape stood upright in a gravel bed and allowed to simply be what it is. The best garden art is art that looks like it belongs specifically in your garden and nowhere else. It is not generic. It is not mass-produced looking. It has a reason to be exactly where it is. Here is the rule I always use when placing garden art. One statement piece per viewing angle. If you can see 3 pieces of garden sculpture from the same point, you have one too many. Let each piece have space. Let each piece be discovered. Idea 11. The garden bench as destination. Idea number 11. The garden bench, but treat it as a destination rather than as furniture. Most people place a garden bench where it is convenient, near the back door, in a sunny spot, wherever there is space. The better question is, where in your garden do you most want to sit? Where is the view best? Where does the evening sun hit last? Where does the scent from your jasmine or your roses concentrate in still air? Put the bench there. Then build the garden around it. Plant behind it so there is something beautiful to look away from. Plant in front of it so there is something beautiful to look toward. Plant on either side so sitting on it feels enclosed, private, held. A bench with nothing around it is outdoor furniture. A bench surrounded by planting, positioned with intention, is a destination. It is a place in your garden that has a specific feeling, and when people find it, they do not want to leave. Paint it. Dark green, charcoal black, warm white. Choose a color that works with your planting rather than fighting it, and keep it in good condition. A weathered, peeling bench communicates neglect even in an otherwise beautiful garden. Idea 12. Wind chimes and sound decoration. Idea number 12. And this is the decoration that works on a sense most gardeners never design for. Sound. Wind chimes, chosen carefully, placed thoughtfully, add an auditory layer to your garden experience that is genuinely irreplaceable. The sound of chimes in a light breeze layered over birdsong and the rustle of leaves makes a garden feel alive in a way that purely visual decoration simply cannot. The key word there is chosen carefully. Bad wind chimes, cheap metal tubes in the wrong key, are the garden equivalent of a car alarm. Beautiful wind chimes, quality bamboo, handmade copper, tuned glass, are closer to outdoor music. Look for chimes that are tuned to a pentatonic scale. These produce combinations of notes that are inherently harmonious. No matter which tubes strike each other, the result is pleasant. They are the chimes used in meditation spaces and high-end garden designs precisely because they cannot produce an ugly sound. Hang them where they get movement from the breeze, near an arch, beneath a tree, beside your garden bench, close enough to hear clearly, far enough that the sound drifts rather than intrudes. A garden that sounds good is a garden you never want to leave. We are almost through the full list, and if you have been watching this and mentally noting the ideas that fit your space, then this is exactly the kind of content we make every single week on this channel. Hit subscribe right now and you will never miss a video. We are building something here and I want you to be part of it. Idea 13. Painted fence panels as backdrop. Idea number 13. And this one is free if you already have a fence. Painted fence panels used as a backdrop. Your fence is the largest vertical surface in your garden, and most people leave it the color it came: brown, gray, weathered wood, which is the visual equivalent of hanging white walls in every room of your house and wondering why it feels unfinished. Paint your fence, 1 or 2 panels in a deep, rich color: forest green, slate blue, charcoal, terracotta, and place your most beautiful plants in front of it. What happens is immediate and dramatic. The plants in front of the painted panel suddenly appear in high definition. Every leaf, every flower, every texture is thrown into relief against a solid color behind it. The border in front of a deep green fence looks like a painting. It looks curated. It looks intentional. You do not need to paint the entire fence. 2 or 3 panels in a strategic location, behind your main border, behind your statement container, behind your garden bench, is enough. The contrast between painted and unpainted panels actually adds to the effect. Outdoor fence paint costs around $12 to $20 a tin. One tin will cover 3 to 4 panels. This is one of the highest return investments in this entire video. Idea 14. The gravel garden bed. Idea number 14. The gravel garden bed. Not a gravel pathway. Not a gravel patio. A garden bed where gravel is the primary surface with plants emerging from it. This is one of the most striking and low-maintenance garden styles you can create. A large, shallow bed of fine granite or pea gravel planted with architectural specimens, ornamental grasses, agaves, lavender, alliums, echinacea that rise from the gravel surface like sculptures. The gravel acts as both decoration and mulch. It reflects light upward into the plants. It retains warmth in the soil beneath it. It suppresses weeds completely. And it requires almost no ongoing maintenance. In terms of aesthetics, a gravel garden bed has a quiet, refined quality, a deliberate simplicity that reads as expensive even though the materials are among the cheapest in gardening. Place bold objects within it: a large smooth stone, a piece of driftwood, a low ceramic pot to break the surface and add scale. Then let the plants do the rest. Idea 15. Vertical wall planters. Idea number 15. Vertical wall planters. Every flat wall in your garden, the side of your house, your boundary fence, the back of a garden shed, is vertical growing space that most gardeners completely ignore. Vertical wall planters, whether purpose-built metal grid systems, repurposed wooden pallets, or individual wall-mounted pots in a deliberate arrangement, turn dead wall space into living, decorated surfaces. The arrangement of the pots is the decoration. Stagger the heights, vary the sizes, group them in clusters rather than straight lines. Let trailing plants fall from upper pockets and upright plants reach from lower ones. For a fence or shed wall, a large pallet planter painted in dark green or charcoal and filled with a mix of trailing succulents, herbs, and small flowering plants creates a living tapestry that fills the wall completely and changes as the plants grow and season shifts. Vertical planting also solves one of the most common problems in small gardens: the feeling that you have run out of space. When you start thinking vertically, your garden becomes significantly larger overnight. And the bonus idea. Idea 16. The one I told you at the beginning would tie everything together. The night garden. A night garden is not a specific decoration or a specific plant. It is a design philosophy. It is the decision to think about how your garden looks, feels, and smells specifically after dark. It means choosing plants with white or pale flowers that glow in low light: white roses, white cosmos, silver-leaved artemisia, pale alliums. It means placing your fairy lights and your lanterns and your solar clusters with intention. It means planting your night-scented stock and your jasmine near where you sit in the evenings. Most gardens exist only during daylight. A night garden exists always. It is there when you come home from a long day. It is there after dinner when you carry your glass outside and stand for a moment before going in. It is there in the small hours when the scent of jasmine drifts through an open window. A night garden turns your outdoor space from a daytime amenity into a constant, quiet presence. And of all the decoration ideas on this list, it is the one that will change your relationship with your garden most profoundly, because a garden you visit is pleasant. A garden you live with is something else entirely. So, there they are. 16 stunning garden decoration ideas for every outdoor space: the stone pathway, landmark pots, the garden mirror, raised beds as structure, fairy lights woven through plants, the birdbath as focal point, lanterns along a pathway, decorative edging, the garden arch, garden sculpture and art, the bench as destination, wind chimes and sound, painted fence backdrops, the gravel garden bed, vertical wall planters, and the night garden that ties it all together. Here is what I want you to do right now. Pick 3 ideas from this list, just 3, that feel right for your specific space. Not 12, not all 16. 3. Write them in the comments below and tell me which ones you chose and why. I will reply to every single one and give you a specific tip for making that idea work in your particular garden. That conversation in the comments, that is where the real value is. That is where we figure out together what works for your space. If this video gave you something useful, share it with one person who has an outdoor space they have given up on, because no outdoor space is past saving. Every garden, no matter how small, how neglected, how awkward, has the potential to be something you love. Next week, I am walking you through how to create a complete garden makeover plan from scratch. How to look at a bare or overgrown space and design it from the ground up, step by step, with a budget of under $100. If that is something you need, subscribe right now and you will not miss it. I will see you there.